Good evening, sweetheart. It's Maggie. Come sit with me. Let's make this night a gentler one. I'm here in the living room tonight, just as I usually am. The lamp on, not too bright. The chair waiting with its small, familiar complaint. There we go. It always makes that sound, as if it wants to be acknowledged before it agrees to hold me. I don't mind anymore. At this age, I appreciate honesty, even from furniture. Outside, the rain has settled into one of those quiet moods, not the kind that rushes or insists, just a steady, thoughtful falling, as if the night itself is breathing slowly. I set my cup down a moment ago. Chamomile tonight, the kind that doesn't argue with your body. The steam rises gently, and for a second, I warm my hands around it, letting my fingers remember what warmth feels like without asking them to hold on to it for too long. Lily is here too, right near my feet, curled into that perfect little comma she makes when she's ready to listen but not participate. She sighed when I sat down, as if to say, "All right, the evening can begin now." Animals understand timing better than we ever do. I want to tell you something gently tonight. Nothing dramatic, nothing heavy, just honest. I'm smiling. If you could see me, you'd see that familiar little smile, the one I carry easily now, the one that knows where to rest on my face. But tonight, there's a small ache behind it. Not a sharp ache, not the kind that demands attention, just a quiet one, like a bruise you only notice when you lean the wrong way. Nothing went wrong today. That's the strange part. The day behaved itself. The house stayed calm. My body cooperated well enough. And yet, somewhere between the kettle clicking off and the rain touching the window, I noticed my chest felt a little heavier than usual. I didn't drop anything, didn't lose anything, didn't receive any news. It's just one of those evenings when the heart feels thinner, not smaller, not weaker, just thinner. Aging does that. No one warns you properly. They tell you about the joints, the memory slips, the way time speeds up, but they don't tell you that feelings start passing through you more easily. That joy glows brighter, that kindness lands deeper, and that sadness, even the smallest kind, can leave a longer echo. I noticed it when I lifted my cup earlier. The spoon made that soft, polite sound against the ceramic, and suddenly my throat tightened just a little. Not because it reminded me of anything specific, just because I noticed it. That's how it happens now. Feelings don't announce themselves. They arrive like a guest who knows the house well enough not to knock. I took a small sip. The tea tasted exactly the way it always does. Warm, faintly floral, forgiving. And I thought, so this is the kind of night it's going to be. Not sad, not broken, just tender. Lily lifted her head when my breathing changed, looked at me for half a second, then decided I was still safe enough to fall asleep beside. That's her measure of things. Simple, reliable. Sometimes I borrow it. If you're sitting with me right now and you recognize this feeling, this small ache that doesn't come with a story, I want you to know something. There's nothing wrong with you tonight. Some evenings aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be noticed and allowed to pass through gently. The rain is still there, still steady. The lamp hums softly. The cup warms my hands. And I'm here, smiling, yes, but letting that smile rest just enough to make room for what's underneath. We don't need to do anything about it yet. We don't need to name it more than this. For now, let's just sit together. I didn't move right away after we last spoke. I stayed exactly where I was, hands still around the cup, shoulders still settled into the chair's familiar shape. There's something about staying still long enough that lets a feeling show its real size. Not bigger, not smaller, just honest. The ache behind my smile hasn't grown. It hasn't faded either. It's simply there, like a quiet weight resting on a shelf inside my chest. Not falling, not demanding to be lifted. I used to think every heavy feeling needed a reason, a cause I could point to, a memory I could trace it back to. But age teaches you something softer. Sometimes the heart feels heavy simply because it has carried many things well. The warmth moved through me slowly this time, not rushing to comfort, just arriving. And I realized this ache isn't asking me to fix anything tonight. It's asking me to notice how thin the space is now between feeling and awareness. When you're younger, emotions pile up before you feel them. They gather, they shout, they wait their turn. But now, they pass straight through the surface. A sound, a thought, the way the rain hits the glass at a certain angle. Earlier, a car passed outside, tires whispering over wet pavement, and for a brief second, my chest tightened, as if something had just left. Not someone, not a moment, just something. That's the strange tenderness of these years. Loss doesn't always announce itself as grief. Sometimes it arrives as a softness you didn't ask for. Lily shifted again. She stretched one paw, bumped lightly against my ankle, then relaxed completely, trusting the floor, the room, the night. Watching her, I thought, she isn't wondering why she feels safe. She simply does. There's wisdom in that. Tonight, my smile still works. It appears when it should. It reassures the world. But behind it, there's this quiet acknowledgement forming that I don't need to be cheerful to be okay. The rain has softened even more now. Less tapping, more presence. It reminds me of evenings years ago when my husband would sit across from me, not speaking, just listening to the house breathe. We never talked about what those silences meant. We didn't need to. Some comforts don't leave memories. They leave imprints. And tonight, I think that's what this ache is. An imprint. I reached for the spoon without thinking, nudged it once against the cup. The sound felt grounding, proof that I was still here, still participating in the smallest rituals. If you're listening and wondering why a night like this can feel heavier even when nothing has gone wrong, let me say this gently. Not every heaviness is a warning. Some are simply evidence that you are paying attention. Attention makes life richer and thinner. It sharpens joy. It sharpens ache, but it also means you're not numb. I adjusted the blanket over my knees earlier. The chair responded with its usual sound, as if reminding me it's still doing its job. So am I, even on nights like this. We don't have to cheer ourselves up. We don't have to explain the feeling away. For now, it's enough to sit here, let the rain fall, let the tea cool, let the ache rest quietly behind the smile without asking it to leave. I didn't realize it at first, how quietly this change arrived. It wasn't announced by a birthday, or a mirror, or even a number. It showed itself in moments like this, the way a thought can touch the heart now without asking permission. The way a feeling no longer needs a story to be felt. When I was younger, emotions were thicker. They had padding. They had edges. Sadness came with reasons. Joy came with proof. Love came with plans. Now, they arrive lighter, but they land deeper. I think that's what people mean when they say age makes you sensitive. Not fragile. Sensitive in the way fingertips become sensitive when you've used them well for many years. I noticed it earlier when I laughed, just a little. The sound surprised me, not because it was forced, but because it carried more weight than it used to. Laughter used to skim the surface. Now it brushes the heart on its way out. I reached for my cup again, hand steady, familiar. The warmth moved through me slowly, not like a wave, more like a permission. That's another thing age does. It changes how comfort arrives. It doesn't rush in to rescue. It sits down beside you and waits until you notice. The chair adjusted as I shifted my weight. It always does that. Complains softly, then holds. I've learned a lot from that chair. Outside, the rain keeps falling without checking whether I'm listening. It doesn't ask if I'm ready. It doesn't try to match my mood. It simply continues. And somehow, that steadiness makes room for everything else to be gentle. Lily stirred again just now. She pressed her back a little more firmly against my ankle, then sighed, a long, satisfied sound. She doesn't carry thin feelings. She carries presence. Sometimes I envy that. Sometimes I learn from it. You see, the ache tonight isn't heavier than the joys I've known. It's just closer to the surface, like skin that's been warmed by years of sunlight, more responsive, less defended. When people talk about growing older, they often speak in terms of loss. But this thinning of feeling, it isn't a loss. It's a kind of clarity. You feel less noise, less clutter, less resistance. And in that openness, everything gets through more easily. That includes small sadness, but it also includes small kindness. The sound of rain, the weight of a blanket, the quiet trust of a dog asleep nearby. I touched the spoon again, just once, not because I needed to stir, but because the sound felt anchoring. There it is, still here. If your heart feels thinner these days too, I want you to hear this clearly. It doesn't mean you're weakening. It means you've stopped armoring yourself against every passing feeling. And that takes courage. Tonight, I'm letting the ache exist without adding a story to it, without trying to soften it into something else. I'm trusting that my heart knows how to hold what it feels, even when it feels more. The rain hasn't stopped. The lamp hasn't flickered. The cup is still warm enough, and I'm still here, smiling softly, breathing steadily, allowing the night to pass through me just as lightly as I'm passing through it. After a while, something shifted. Not the ache itself, but the way I was sitting with it. I stopped watching it so closely, stopped checking whether it was growing or fading. I let it be what it was, a quiet presence, not a problem to solve. That's another lesson age teaches softly. Not every feeling wants a conversation. Some just want a chair. I leaned back a little more, let the chair do its work. It didn't ask me anything. It simply held. I noticed my shoulders drop without my permission. It felt like the body saying, "All right, we can rest here." The rain outside kept its steady pace, a low, thoughtful rhythm, not dramatic, not insistent, just present enough to remind the night it wasn't alone. I reached for the cup again, not because I needed more warmth, but because the ritual itself felt grounding. There's something reassuring about repeating a simple action when the inside feels uncertain. It tells the nervous parts of you, we know what to do. Lily shifted closer, her back pressed lightly against my ankle, a quiet decision to stay. She didn't look up, didn't ask anything. She just chose presence. I thought about how often we try to push feelings away, even small ones, as if acknowledging them might invite more. But tonight, letting this ache sit beside me hasn't made it heavier. If anything, it feels less alone. That surprised me. The lamp hummed softly, steady and unconcerned. It wasn't trying to change the room, just illuminate it. And I realized I don't need to brighten myself tonight. I can simply be lit enough to be seen by my own heart. I adjusted the blanket once more. The movement was small, but it felt like care. Care doesn't always arrive as comfort. Sometimes it arrives as permission to stop performing resilience. The ache didn't leave, but it relaxed, like something that had been waiting to know whether it was allowed. Outside, a car door closed somewhere down the street. The sound echoed faintly, then dissolved back into rain, life continuing without asking me to keep up. I think that's what I needed tonight. Not relief, but companionship. Not answers, but space. If you're listening, and there's something sitting quietly beside you too, not loud enough to explain, not heavy enough to name, you don't have to move it tonight. Just pull up a chair. Let it sit. We can breathe together for a moment longer. I've been quiet for a moment now, not because there's nothing left to say, but because the room feels fuller when I leave a little space open. The ache is still here, sitting where I invited it earlier. It hasn't asked for anything, and neither have I. I shifted my feet slightly under the blanket, making room, not just for comfort, but for the idea that you might be here too. If you were sitting across from me, I wouldn't lean forward. I wouldn't reach out. I'd just stay right where I am, close enough to be felt, far enough to let you breathe. I lifted the cup again. The tea is cooled a little now. Not cold, just calmer, like a conversation that doesn't need to continue to remain meaningful. Lily stirred, then shifted her weight closer to my feet. She does that when the room feels settled, when she senses no one is about to leave. I think that's what tonight offers us. No departures, Nothing to chase, nothing to hold up, just this hour, resting gently in place. You don't have to explain your heaviness to me. You don't need to justify why tonight feels the way it does. Some nights ask us to share stories. Others ask us to share silence. This one prefers silence. The rain keeps falling with that patient sound, as if it's been doing this long enough to trust it will end when it's ready. I like learning from things that don't rush themselves. There was a time in my life when I believed carrying everything alone was a kind of strength. But age teaches you a different definition. Strength can be this too, letting someone sit nearby while you carry nothing at all. I adjusted the cup on the table, nudging it into a place where it felt balanced. Balance doesn't mean equal weight. It means things resting where they belong. If you need to set something down tonight, a worry, a memory, a feeling you don't want to hold alone, you can place it here, right between us. I'll sit with it quietly. The ache behind my smile feels less personal now, less mine alone. It feels like something human, something that knows how to move when it's given room. Lily's breathing has slowed. The lamp's hum stays steady. The rain continues, and nothing is asking for more. You don't have to carry tonight alone. I'm here. The night has shifted again, not forward, not backward, just deeper. This is usually the hour when the body decides before the mind does. The shoulders soften, the jaw loosens, the breath stops checking itself. I let the smile rest, not disappear, just stop working so hard. The ache is still there, but it's quieter now, like something that knows it doesn't need to stay alert anymore. I reach for the cup one last time tonight. The tea has cooled to the exact temperature that asks nothing of me. Warm enough to be kind, cool enough to let go. Lily shifted in her sleep just now, a tiny movement, a soft reminder that trust doesn't need ceremony. She stayed. The lamp beside me hums, low, steady, a faithful witness to the quiet. I'll turn it off soon. Not yet, just soon enough. I adjusted in the chair one final time, finding that place where the body says, yes, this is fine. Outside, the rain hasn't stopped, but it's gentler now, as if it's learned the shape of the night. It no longer taps, it rests. And I think that's what this evening has been teaching me, that feelings don't always need solving, that smiles don't always need holding, that even a small ache can soften when it's allowed to stay. If you're listening from your own quiet place, let your face rest. Let your breathing forget itself. Let the night finish its work without interruption. I'll stay here a moment longer after I stop speaking. Just enough time for the room to remember me and for me to remember the room. And then we'll let sleep take over the way it knows how. Rest well tonight, sweetheart. Good night from me, Maggie.